صلوات. صلوات. اے ماں تو مجھے پاس بلا لو، مجھے پیاس ستاتی ہے. اے ماں تو مجھے پاس بلا لو، مجھے پیاس ستاتی ہے. تربت سے علی اصغر کی، تربت سے علی اصغر کی آواز یہ آتی ہے. اے ماں تو مجھے پاس بلا لو، مجھے پیاس ستاتی ہے. یاد آئے بہت مجھ کو تیرا جھولا جھلانا ہے، کبھی سینے سے لگا کے تیرا لوری سنانا. جب ریت گرم پیاری ماں، جب ریت گرم پیاری ماں میرے تن کو جلاتی ہے. اے ماں تو مجھے پاس بلا لو، مجھے پیاس ستاتی ہے. ہائے پیاس کی شدت سے گلا سوکھا پڑا ہے، ہائے زخمی گلا اس میں اے ماں درد بھرا ہے. تربت میں اکیلا ہوں میں، تربت میں اکیلا ہوں میں، میرے تن کو جلاتی ہے. اے ماں تو مجھے پاس بلا لو، مجھے پیاس ستاتی ہے. جھولے میں پڑھا اصغر دن رات ہے رویا، جب پیاس بجھی اس کی تو پھر چین سے سویا. مقتل میں سکینہ پھر کیوں، مقتل میں سکینہ پھر کیوں اس ڈھونڈ نہ جاتی ہے. اے ماں تو مجھے پاس بلا لو، مجھے پیاس ستاتی ہے. وہ شام غریباں کو جب ظلم ہوا تھا، سر ننگے تھی ہر بی بی ہرے خیمے جلا تھا. عباس ثانی زہرا عباس ثانی زہرا یہ فرض نبھاتی ہے، اے ماں تو مجھے پاس بلا لو، مجھے پیاس ستاتی ہے۔ صلوات۔
صلوات پر محمد و آل محمد۔ آج بھی زینب کی آتی ہے صدا بھائی حسین، آج بھی زینب کی آتی ہے صدا بھائی حسین، تیرا چہرہ تیری آنکھیں بھول نہ پائی حسین، آج بھی زینب کی آتی ہے صدا بھائی حسین، چلتے ناکے سے گرایا خود کو جلتی ریت پر، چلتے ناکے سے گرایا خود کو جلتی ریت پر، گھٹنیوں کے بل میں تیری لاش تک آئی حسین، بس میں گھبرائی تھی خنجر تجھ پہ چلتا دیکھ کر، بس میں گھبرائی تھی خنجر تجھ پہ چلتا دیکھ کر، پھر کسی مشکل میں گر کر میں نہ گھبرائی حسین، تیرا چہرہ تیری آنکھیں بھول نہ پائی حسین، آج بھی زینب کی آتی ہے صدا بھائی حسین، کون تھا جو مرنے والوں میں نہیں تھا خوبرو، کون تھا جو مرنے والوں میں نہیں تھا خوبرو، بھولنے بیٹھی تو کس کس کی نہ یاد آئی حسین، آج بھی زینب کی آتی ہے صدا بھائی حسین، بہہ رہے تھے آنکھ سے آنسو تیری رخصت کے وقت، بہہ رہے تھے آنکھ سے آنسو تیری رخصت کے وقت، پھر کوئی آنسو نہ ٹپکا، آنکھ پتھرائی حسین، ہاتھ میں کوزے لیے سب آسماں تکتے رہے، ہاتھ میں کوزے لیے سب آسماں تکتے رہے، ابر نے ایک بوند پانی کی نہ برسائی حسین، دور افتادہ سفر سے لوٹ کر میں نے نوید، دور افتادہ سفر سے لوٹ کر میں نے نوید، ٹھنڈا پانی جب پیا تو تیری یاد آئی حسین، ٹھنڈا پانی جب پیا بس تیری یاد آئی حسین، تیرا چہرہ تیری آنکھیں بھول نہ پائی حسین، آج بھی زینب کی آتی ہے صدا بھائی حسین، صلوات بر محمد و آل محمد۔
اللہم صلی علی محمد وآل محمد وعجل۔ ایک دفعہ پھر درود بھیج دیں محمد وآل محمد پر۔
اللہم صلی علی محمد وآل محمد۔
4 مصرے۔ کبھی جو ہم درے اشک عزا گراتے ہیں، کبھی جو ہم درے اشک عزا گراتے ہیں، فرشتے آنکھ سے اپنی سے لگاتے ہیں، فرشتے آنکھ سے اپنی سے لگاتے ہیں، ہے سیل اشک عزائے حسین میں وہ زور، ہے سیل اشک عزائے حسین میں وہ زور، کہ جس سے شعلہ دوزخ کو ہم بجھاتے ہیں، کہ جس سے شعلہ دوزخ کو ہم بجھاتے ہیں، کبھی جو ہم درے اور محمد وآل محمد صلوات. فضائل مولا علی کے بس چند اشعار، ایک دفعہ پھر درود بھیج دیں محمد وآل محمد.
اللہم صلی علی محمد وآل محمد.
علی کا باغ جہاں میں جواب کیا ہوگا، علی کا باغ جہاں میں جواب کیا ہوگا، جو آپ کا ہے چہرہ گلاب کیا ہوگا، علی کا باغ جہاں میں جواب کیا ہوگا، ابو تراب کے جو بندگان خاص میں ہے، ابو تراب کے جو بندگان خاص قبر کا اس پر عذاب کیا ہوگا، فشار قبر کا اس پر عذاب کیا ہوگا، علی کا باغ جہاں میں جواب کیا ہوگا، جو آفتاب کو مغرب سے کھینچ کر لائے، جو آفتاب کو مغرب سے کھینچ کر لائے، تو اس کے سامنے خیبر کا باب کیا ہوگا، تو اس کے سامنے خیبر کا باب کیا ہوگا، علی کا باغ جہاں میں جواب کیا ہوگا، ملک بھی کر نہیں سکتے شمار اجر درود، ملک بھی کر نہیں سکتے شمار اجر درود، جو بے حساب ہے اس کا حساب کیا ہوگا، جو بے حساب ہے اس کا حساب کیا ہوگا، علی کا باغ محمد والے محمد صلوات فاتحہ۔ اللہم صلی علی محمد وعلی رحم زینب کے جو آغوش کے پالے آئے، رحم زینب کی جو آغوش کے پالے آئے، دونوں کس شان سے ہتھیار سنبھالے آئے، گھوڑے چمکاتے ہلاتے ہوئے بھالے آئے، قتل کرنے کو سواروں کے رسالے آئے، جا پڑے شیر چمکتی ہوئی تلواروں میں، گھر گئے دونوں جری لاکھ ستمگاروں میں، گھر گئے دونوں جری لاکھ ستمگاروں میں، کہاں دو طفل صغیر اور کہاں لاکھ عدو لڑے اس
درجے کے شل ہو گئے دونوں بازو، برچھیاں ماری لائنوں نے جو پا کر قابو، ڈگمگانے لگے رہواروں پہ وہ تشنا گلو، مثل گل ڈوب گئے خون میں جامے ان کے، منہ پہ سہرے ہوئے کٹ کٹ کے امامے ان کے، منہ پہ سہرے ہوئے کٹ کٹ کے امامے ان کے، ذوف سے ہرنے پہ جھک جھک کے جو سنبھلے کئی بار، غل مچانے لگے میدان میں تب ظلم شیعہ، لو مبارک ہو کے مارے گئے یہ سینہ فگار، گرتے ہیں گھوڑوں سے حضرت کے بہن کے دلدار، ٹکڑے ٹکڑے ہیں بدن زخم بہت کھائے ہیں، پاؤں دونوں کے رکابوں سے نکل آئے ہیں، پاؤں دونوں کے رکابوں سے نکل آئے ہیں، دیے حضرت نے صدا تھام کے ہاتھوں سے جگر، چار آنکھیں میری تم سے نہیں ہوتی خواہر، اہل کی رن میں یہ غلم کرتے ہیں خوش ہو کر، ٹکڑے تیغوں سے ہوئے زینب بے کس کے پسر، نہیں معلوم وہ نرغے میں کہاں ہے خواہر، بھانجے آنکھوں سے ماموں کی نگاہ ہے خواہر، بھانجے آنکھوں سے ماموں کی نگاہ ہے خواہر، ابھی زینب سے یہ کہتے تھے شہ کربلا، اور کھڑی ہاتھوں سے سر پیٹتی تھی وہ دکھیا، اتنے میں بھانجوں کی آئی یہ حضرت کو صدا، لو غلاموں کی خبر ہے خلف شیر خدا، تن سے ہم دونوں کے سر کٹنے کی تیاری ہے، اے مددگار جہاں وقت مددگاری ہے، اے مددگار جہاں وقت مددگاری ہے، یہ صدا سنتے ہی دوڑے گئے رن میں شہیدی، نہ فلک سوجھتا تھا اور نہ آنکھوں سے زمین، میان سے تیغ جولی ہٹ گئے آگے سے لائیں، خون میں غلطہ نظر آئے انہیں وہ ماہ جبیں، خاک پر گر کے بسط درد پکارے شبی، ہائے بھانجو قربان تمہارے شبی، ہائے بھانجو जो कुर्बान तुम्हारे शबीर।
Real loud salawat, please. So I apologize. There are a number of announcements that are very important. So please bear with me today as we walk through a few things as these nights continue. First and foremost, on behalf of the IEC management team, I'd like to extend our gratitude for all of your cooperations for when attending these programs. I mean, even the small things, they really matter. So thank you for cooperating with management, with our volunteers, with all the committees. So a loud salawat for all the mu'mineen that are attending. A couple things I do want to highlight. We did highlight yesterday as well. We have opened these side doors that are over here. So the west side of the building, those doors are open now. So if you are just attending the English Majlis, you can enter from this side. This way we can kind of deviate the traffic, divert the traffic to multiple entrances and exits to allow more safe flow of people, inshallah. So please utilize those entrances and exits when possible. The management has asked me to go over a few just rules while being on the premises. I'm not going to go into much detail. These rules have been emailed out to everyone. Just a couple things to keep in mind. Smoking, make sure you smoke only in designated areas. You'll see signs where they're outside where there are designated areas for smoking. These are the only places you're supposed to be smoking, and please stay 15 feet away from any entrance if you are in those areas. Parents with children, make sure you know where your children are at all times. IEC is not liable for anything that Khuda na khasta would happen, so please make sure from the minute you are on IEC property to the moment you leave, you know where your children are, inshallah. That way we can ensure that everyone returns home safely. And then the last thing I do want to emphasize, we have a number of parking volunteers outside. They work very hard to make sure we utilize every space possible to get as many cars as we do on this property. So please listen to them, please follow their instructions. You know, if there is something that you have a dispute, just listen and we can resolve it at a later time. But these days, there's so many cars coming in and out. We request, please park in designated areas, please listen to those volunteers, and inshallah, again, you know, there will be no property damage, inshallah, there'll be no injuries, inshallah, and we're doing our best to prevent anything that could possibly happen. So those are a few rules I just wanted to lay out, inshallah. Hopefully we won't have to go through those again. A couple other things. If you all were to turn around, you would see a table in the back. On that table, usually there's someone manning it, but inshallah there'll be someone there soon. You will find 4 barcodes, or 4 QR codes, excuse me. In those QR codes, you will see one for donations. And now I want to emphasize this. IEC is providing these programs. There's a lot of funding that is needed to make sure these doors are open, everything is working, and little issues happen. For example, the AC in this hall actually went out on Friday, and we had to repair it, and that was a quite hefty sum to repair those. So these expenses come in. So we request you please visit those tables, donate generously to make sure this building and this premise is all functional. And also, you know, we have programs going on for the next 2 months. And inshallah, we need to keep things moving. So That's one QR code. The second QR code you'll see is one for the youth database. Now, anyone that's under the age of 25, we request go over there, scan it, fill out the form. What this is going to do is allow us to provide programs that fit the age group that is needed. I know a lot of us in here, I see my peers at my age with their children in here, to make sure we know how many children are of certain ages to provide programs and services that work for them. So please fill out that so we have a database. The third QR code that you'll see is for anyone, new members or old members of the community that want to be in the know. For example, if you are not signed up for IEC emails, if you're not signed up for IEC text messages or the phone tree, that is the place to go. So that goes for anyone that's new that wants to know when our programs are, when everything is happening, please go out and fill out that form. And then the fourth QR code is for the, inshallah, the blood drive. So if you would like to sign up for the blood drive, that QR code is back there. That will be on Saturday, August 12th. All right, so those are the main things. Can I get one loud salawat? So yesterday, with all your cooperation, we were able to fit more people into this hall than we had been the previous days, and inshallah, there'll be more and more people coming in the next few days. So right now, I ask you all to come as close to the stage as possible. And today, Shaykh has given permission for anyone, including children under 12, to come sit on the stage. So if you'd like to come sit on the stage, please. The stipulation is that you have to sit still and stay quiet. So please, you can come closer to the Shaykh. And everyone else, please come closer to the stage so we can fit more people in the back. As stated, in the previous days, we had a lot of people sitting in the back, just sitting in the shoe area, sitting, close to the bathroom. So we want to be able to fit more people as possible. One more loud salawat. And the stage is not only for children, so anyone else can come up here as well. So I do request some of the adults to join as well if they can. Thank you. All right, so there is a group of teenage youth that have put together ziyarah for the next few days. So inshallah, starting today, these youth have put together these heartbreaking ziyarah for us to see at the end of the Majlis. So please, everyone, stick around after Masaib for Matam, as these ziyarahs will start coming today. Inshallah, today we'll have the tabuts of Hazrat An and Hazrat Muhammad. And then tomorrow, inshallah, we'll have the jula of Hazrat Ali Asghar. And then on Tuesday, the tabut of Hazrat Qasim. Wednesday, we'll have a parcham and the alam of Hazrat Abbas. Thursday, we'll have the tabut of Hazrat Ali Akbar. For the day of Ashura, the afternoon majlis will be with the Urdu majlis in the new hall. However, the Sham-e Ghariba majlis will be in this hall, English only. For the full day of Ashura schedule, you can find it on the IEC Muharram program guide, which is on IECHusaini.org. So if you go to IECHusaini.org, you'll see a link for monthly calendar. If you click that, you can get the whole schedule, not only for Ashura, but for the 2 months and 8 days of programs that are upcoming. So please, everyone can download those on their phone. Very easy to do. With that, I'd like to shift towards the Shaykh's topic for today. Is, I apologize. The possibility of systemic reform and a look at Imam Ali's strategy. With that, I'd like to invite Dr. Shaykh Mehdi Hazari to the stage. Salawat par Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. I don't even know the title.
على حب فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. لتعجيل فرج الإمام صاحب العصر والزمان صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. الفاتحة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا رسول الله وعلى أهل بيتك المعصومين الأبرار الميامين المظلومين المضطهدين. السلام عليك وعلى ولدك المظلوم أبي عبد الله الحسين يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة يا غريب يا مظلوم يا عطشان كربلاء. ما خاب والله من تمسك بكم أمن من لجأ والتجأ إليكم. يا ليتنا فيا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي فنفوز والله فوزا عظيما. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن المنافقين في الدرك الأسفل من النار ولن تجد لهم نصيرا إلا الذين تابوا وأصلحوا واعتصموا بالله واخلصوا دينهم لله فأولئك مع المؤمنين وسوف يؤتي الله المؤمنين أجرا عظيما. آمنا بالله صدق الله العلي العظيم. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. والسلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. My dear brothers and sisters, I want to begin tonight where's my brother? Oh, there's Wasim. I'm going to embarrass you. My dear brother Wasim here asked a very good question yesterday in the question and answer session, and as is a reflection of the weakness of my brain, I completely misunderstood what he was asking, and I was a bit dismissive of him, and so I apologize for that to begin with, and sort of clarify. So he asked about the concept of raj'a, and I totally didn't even understand what he was talking about until later when I went back to my room and thought about it carefully, and he was on point completely. So the raj'a, the concept of raj'a, It means that after the dhuhur of Imam al-Mahdi, ajjalallahu ta'ala farajahu al-sharif, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, that Imam Hussein will be brought back to life. And this is in many of the riwayat, indeed, it is known. And not only that, but there is some sort of speculation, there is something in the ahadith that suggests even the enemies of Imam Hussein will be brought back to life so that basically justice can be meted out against them. There is a lot of debate on a lot of the details. There is not always agreement on when it will happen or how it will happen or the scale at which it will happen, but it is certainly present in the ahadith, and it is there and reported in many of our books. This is what is called the raj'a. So it is there, and I just thought I will begin by offering that clarification, insha'Allah. Salawat ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. With that admission of weakness in my mind, let me begin. And so you see what I have done already is I have set the bar very low, so you cannot expect anything from me from this point forward. It is reported in the ahadith that in the thousands of years that Allah was being worshipped by the malaika, that at one point, this is in the hadith, it's not it's not a story I have made up myself, it is in the hadith, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took a piece of clay and He fashioned it into the shape of a human being. It was just a clay figure, there was nothing else there, a dirt figure. There was no life in it. And according to the reported hadith, He left it there. And they say it stayed there a long time, many, many, many years. They say the angels will look at it and they will ask, why is Allah creating something like this? What is the reason for this? They also say one other creation of God walked by it and looked at it, and he thought to himself, God must be creating this creature here because He wants a vicegerent in the earth. He wants a khalifa in the earth. What need does He have to do something like this, something that makes no sense, questioning Allah? And then quickly, this creature, he came to his senses, and he's like, no, God is all wise, and he went about his own business. All right? Back to doing his worship. Then finally, what did Allah do? Allah, He gave life to that vessel, that human vessel. And Adam alayhi salam was born. Now as he's born, you know the story, well known, that Allah commanded all the malaika to bow down in front of Adam. And in addition, there was one creation who was amongst them, who was amongst the angels because of his worship, his tens and thousand years of worship, his lofty presence. Imagine, he was amongst them, so he was obliged to bow down as well. That was the same creation who was walking by the figure of Adam alayhi salam and questioning. And although he initially said, no, God is all wise, when God commanded him to bow down, what did he do? He didn't bow. He went straight down, right? No, he didn't. He stayed up. He says, no, I'm better. Adam is made out of this dirt, and I am made out of fire. Why should I, fire, bow down to him? And hence begins the saga. Now I ask you that when we consider this story of Iblis, who is now Shaitan described in the Holy Quran, are we considering a creature that is all evil? When you think of the devil, right? How is the devil portrayed on TV? Big red horns? No? With a pitchfork usually, a big old tail, fire coming out of his ears, God knows what. It's like the angriest, most vile looking creature there is. But ask yourself, is this the same creature who worshipped Allah so devotedly for tens and thousands of years? Indeed, he is evil. He is the enemy of God. But how was the moment that turned him from pious, devoted to God, to becoming evil? How close was it? It was so close, no? So slippery was that slope. It's not that he was completely evil from the beginning, that it was expected of him. No. What was expected is, this jinn is so pious, worshipped so much, tens of thousands of years, has been elevated into the ranks or amongst the malaika, that you don't expect, in a human mind, you don't expect a creature like that to have tripped over, to have violated God's code. Yet what did it take? Nothing. One little disobedience of God. One disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and now what has happened? Not only does he disobey, but he refuses to accept after that. And so now Allah says, go, you are rajim. You are gone from here. Leave from here. You see that even this very story is an example of our state. My dear brothers and sisters, insan, our perception, our mind, our understanding of the world around us is determined by many, many factors. Many factors, okay? One is what is called a societal presence, okay? So we go back to the example I gave you yesterday. You have two guys in front of you, one of them wearing that Armani suit. The other one comes in wearing the wife beater, some torn up board shorts, right? And a pair of flip-flops. Who do you form an impression of being successful, sophisticated, civilized, of good means, etc.? The guy in the Armani, no? Your mind will automatically think that. Whereas you will look at the other one, and you will see him, and you will say, no, this person, he's not trustworthy. He's a fool. He's too busy taking life as a joke. So nothing matters. All of these things are what we see in society. How many times in society have we looked at someone and sized them up immediately? We don't know who they are. We do it so often. Perception is bent by so many things. Not only that, but how many times have you looked at a person, you see the smile on their face and you think that they're a pleasing human being? Or you see someone walking down the street, you don't know who they are, but they've got a scowl on their face. Maybe that's just how their face is. And you look and you say, oh, this must be a very angry person, right? So many times we have these sorts of perceptions that are created inside of us. And the strange thing is that this sort of thing exists very deeply inside of insan, very deeply. And the meshing of how we see things, particularly each other, is so blended that sometimes we don't even pay attention to the forces that are causing it. Let me give you an example, okay? They did a study, and by now, how many studies have I talked about in the last 5 nights? Like at least 7, no? Like I'm throwing all the literature at all of you. 7 studies. By the time we get to Ashura, it'll be like 50 maybe, I don't know. No, I will not bore you that much. They took a group of participants and they described for them 2 scenarios. The first scenario describes a young woman who is sitting in her college dorm room and her friends come in, they hang out with her. She's very hospitable, she allows them to do stuff. She's got an iPad on which she does some homework, she watches some TV. She's got her other stuff in her dorm room. Her friends come in, they do whatever they have to do. She is a nice host, she's sitting there. She is on her iPad or not on her iPad, and her friends leave. That's one situation. They allow the participants to read a description of such a situation. In another situation, they take a separate set of participants. They give them the exact same scenario as the first one I just described to you. This girl in her dorm room, her friends come in, they participate, they hang out in the evening, she has an iPad, she's reading it, and they point out that there's one friend of hers in particular who's there. They point out this one girl to her, separate friend. The friends leave as they do in the first one. The girl whose room it is behaving exactly the same in scenario A as she does in scenario B. There's no difference in the girl who lives in the room in her behavior at all. Her behavior is exactly the same. However, in the second scenario, what they tell the participants is that one of the girls who was the visitor to her room, she comes back later on at night when the resident of the room has gone out to the bathroom and she steals her iPad. She steals her iPad. And then they ask the participants, what do you think about the girl who lives in the room? What is your feeling about the poor girl who got robbed? And in the other case, what is your feeling about the girl who was in the room with her friends? The first set of participants said, she must have had a nice time with her friends. She's a normal girl. She's, living in college with her friends. The other set of participants, the minute she got robbed, her behavior was exactly the same as the other scenario. No difference. It's just she got robbed in the second scenario. The participants immediately equate her with higher morality. Strange, no? They consider because she got robbed to be of higher morality. This is an effect in society. It's called the virtuous victim effect. All right? You look at somebody who's had an injustice or a tyranny done to them, and you consider them to have higher morality. Do you not? When you as an insan see someone in society who's been hurt, who's been oppressed, how do you feel towards them? You look at them the same way you look at somebody else? Do you? Let me give you another example of this. They give two sets of participants a scene in which someone has been shot badly and is injured. In the first scene, the person was shopping in a grocery store. In a grocery store, they were shopping, they got shot, someone came in to rob, I don't know, they got shot, they fell. All right? In the other scene, a similar type of person, same age, same gender, etc. The second scene, they get shot, but they were not in a grocery store, they were standing in a soup kitchen feeding the homeless. Who do you think the participants felt greater connection to in terms of morality? The victim who is doing a moral act, no? It's automatic. It happens within us. It's called the virtuous victim effect. And these sorts of things, we've got lots of these quirks inside of us, human beings. And it's amazing how they shape us. My dear brothers and sisters, you're going to wonder why I'm bringing all of this into it. And hopefully by now you can understand that I try to connect it all in some way, shape, or form. I'm mentioning all of this is because black and white is easy to discern. What's difficult is the gray area in between, right? If you know someone is all evil, you look at somebody like Yazid, la'natullahi alayh. Any question? No question. All evil. Al-Hajjaj ibn Yusuf al-Thaqafi. All evil? All evil. No problem. Easy. Humayd ibn Qahtaba? I don't know if you know the story of Humayd ibn Qahtaba. All evil. Butcher of Ahl al-Bayt. Butcher of the family of Rasulullah. All evil. Versus you see on the other end, all virtue, all goodness. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam. All virtue, all goodness. Imam Ali, Fatima al-Zahra. Let's even leave the Ma'sumin on the one side. You see good human beings who have piety, kindness, generosity, self-sacrifice, all goodness, no evil. Those extremes are not what are difficult to see. They're very easy to see. Evil in the world, when it is apparent and explicit, is easy to identify. Good in the world that is explicit, that is open, that's in front of your eyes, easy to identify. You see it. What is difficult is when it is so close, evil and good, that you have a difficult time differentiating. It's at the intersection of good and evil. Now you'll say, well, how does good and evil intersect? Good and evil intersects a lot. Good may be on one end and evil on the other. But believe me, inside of us, good and evil has a tendency to intersect. It is at that intersection that we usually fail. We either fail to recognize it and stop ourselves from evil, wal-'ayadhu billah, or the doing of good, or we fail to even recognize that it's happening inside of us. All right? And the Quran describes. Quran has many, many explanations in it. In Quran, the Quran describes what is called juhud. Juhud, it means absolute denial of Allah, first of all. The major type of juhud is when you deny the existence of God, the existence of deen, you're an atheist, essentially. That is an absolute form of you're lost. You're completely lost. You have reached a set side of darkness that is so beyond that there is you're not even close to the line of goodness in that respect. So there is that form of juhud. There is another type of juhud that is described, and it is described in the riwayat from Imam Al-Sadiq alayhi salatu wassalam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad, in which Al-Imam As-Sadiq alayhi salam, he explains with this ayah of the Holy Quran, وَجَحَدُوا بِهَا وَاسْتَيْقَنَتْهَا أَنفُسُهُمْ ظُلْمًا وَعُدْوَانًا. Allah, he says, not udwana. That's incorrect. وَاسْتَيْقَنَتْهَا أَنفُسُهُمْ, and the ayah is very, وَجَحَدُوا بِهَا وَاسْتَيْقَنَتْهَا أَنفُسُهُمْ ظُلْمًا. The ayah, it says that they denied the sign of God. Now, did they deny it absolutely? Look what the ayah says. Did they deny the ayah completely? No. It says they denied it, but their hearts were certain that it was the truth. Right on the edge. Right between, at the intersection of good and evil. Your heart knows it's the truth, but you deny it. You are on the truth, you see what is the haqq, yet something forces you to deny. وَجَحَدُوا بِهَا, and they denied it. وَاسْتَيْقَنَتْهَا أَنفُسُهُمْ ظُلْمًا. They do oppression and they deny. They deny it. So that's one form. You see, side by side. You knew it was true, you denied it. My dear brothers and sisters, how many times does this happen to us? Let me give you a trivial example of this. Very trivial example, okay? I've gone to the doctor. Doctors told me I'm at risk for metabolic disease. Should not be eating gulab jamun anymore. Wal-hayadu billah, right? Toba toba, may that never happen. No more gulab jamun. The salan on which you've got 2 inches of oil at the top, that's gone. No more of that, okay? The fried samosa, no more of that. I know, I can see it's the truth. My arteries are clogged, my blood sugar is up, it's not in control. I'm close to developing metabolic disease. But yet, when that tabarruk comes, oh my God, there's no way, right? I know what is the truth. The truth is, if I keep eating this, chances are I will get sick and I will die much younger than I should. But do I stop? No, I don't stop. You're on the intersection. Again, you're on the intersection. It is always on the intersection. It's always on the intersection. And it's usually so veiled and so sensitive. Now, God forbid, I have a heart attack and it's so severe. That'll be enough to shake me. But it's when I'm teetering on the edge, I'm not quite sick, the signs are just there barely, the warning is a bit light. It's on that border that I'm never ever sure. If it can happen to something trivial like this, can it not happen in your deen and in your religion? In a similar fashion, look at Imam Sadiq alayhi salam defines the border in another way. He describes in the story of Sulaiman alayhi salam. I already told you the story of Bilqis yesterday. Now, after she capitulates, she says, we surrender, we worship your God, O Sulaiman. Just prior to that, Sulaiman, what does he say? He says, who will bring for me the throne of Bilqis? Who will bring it for me? So, you know, the Ifrit, he comes, the jinn, he says, I am qawi and ameen, I am strong, I am trustworthy. Before you get up from your chair, I will have it for you. Then the one who has a little bit of knowledge of the book, he steps forward, Asif bin Barkhia, and he says, O Nabi Allah, before your eye blinks, I will have it for you. Now, it just so happens that the throne is there now, after Sulaiman asks for it, so Bilqis' throne is right there. What does Sulaiman alayhi salam say? He says, هَذَا مِن فَضْلِ رَبِّي لِيَبْلُوَنِي أَأَشْكُرْ أَمْ أَكْفُرْ. He says, this is the grace of my God on me. This throne that is here, that has allowed it to come here, that Allah has given to me, is the grace of my Allah. Why? So He can test me. Either I am grateful or I am in kufr. Ya Allah. Right next to each other. I am sitting in the middle of these two. Either I am grateful or I am in kufr. He doesn't say grateful and ungrateful. He says either I am in grateful or I am in kufr. Again, this border between. Not just that. Day of judgment comes. Shaitan stands there and wal-hayadu billah, I am being sent to Jahannam. Okay? No, I don't want to say that. Inshallah, I will not. Some guy is being sent to Jahannam. Okay? He's being sent to Jahannam, and he goes and he points to Shaitan. He says, he made me do it. He says, he made me do it. Shaitan at that moment, and the ayah of the Holy Quran, again, Quran will tell you. He turns to Allah and he says, Inni kafartu bima ashraktumuni min qabl. He says, I have done kufr of you. Shaitan himself, who was in your skin telling you to do the wrong thing, who had possessed you to do the wrong thing, he will separate himself from you. And he will say, I have done kufr in you, meaning I've separated myself in you. In this way, when you say kufr, he says, I'm denying any association with you. That means he must have been associated with you at some point to cause you to do it, no? He was with you. That's why he was there. And even he will say, I disassociate with you. Don't call me a sharik, a participant in what you did. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, he continues, he doesn't stop. He says one more thing. And this one is probably the most scary. He says, there are some people, and this was mentioned about the Bani Israel in the Quran. There were some people who claimed to believe in the prophets, claimed to be on the side of Iman. And yet when the time came, there were believers, true believers in their community who were mistreated and persecuted. Sound familiar? Sound familiar? And about them, the ayah, it says, أَفَتُؤْمِنُونَ بِبَعْضِ الْكِتَابِ وَتَكْفُرُونَ بِبَعْضِ. Do you believe in some of the book, and then right next to it, do kufr in some of it? Side by side. Do you believe in one piece, one page you're believing, and then the next line you don't believe? Page 200 you believe, page 201 you don't believe. You accept this that Allah is telling you, but you don't accept that that's in the Holy Quran. Side by side, in the same Quran, Allah is saying you're doing it. You're doing it. Imagine, we think, yes, evil is on one end. It's that horned creature that's chasing after us. We think goodness is the angel sitting on our shoulder, of course. But we are not paying attention to that middle area. That boundary, that intersection between evil and good. And it clashes constantly. Constantly is clashing. And insan, I was mentioning to you that there's this virtuous victim thing, right? So you would think it's a good thing, right? If someone is a victim, someone has been mistreated, someone has been oppressed, someone has been tyrannized in the world, that we feel pain for them. We attach some amount of virtue to them. They're mazloom, particularly us Shia. We Shia, we are the types of people, we see a mazloom, we have to be of those people who support the mazloom, always. And we feel something for them. Do you know that a very recent study showed that there are people who take advantage of this circumstance for their own evil purposes? There is something called the dark triad of personality, or the triad of dark personality traits. 3 traits that human beings have. Every human being has to some degree, some more than others. The first one is called narcissism. Narcissism means you think highly of yourself, okay? You think you're the best, everything you do is the best, everything is directed for you, for your benefit, and everything you do for others is perfect. It's amazing, okay? We've heard that a lot last 4 years before. Lots and lots of that. So narcissism. This sort of evil shows the arrogance. And Quran talks about Fir'aun, it talks about Nimrud, it talks about all of these fara'ina, these tyrants. That this quality of narcissism is very destructive. Because it means that this person will trample on anyone to get what they want. The second thing is called Machiavellism. Machiavelli was a personality. And what has been attributed to him is the fact that he was very deceptive. He could manipulate people for his own good. He would use for his own good whatever he could just to get an advantage. So the people who they say manipulate others to get the benefit, they do so on their own. And they do so knowing that they can take advantage of someone else. My dear brothers and sisters, maybe sometimes we should look in the mirror and ask ourselves, do we have these qualities? Maybe not all the time, but maybe at moments when good and evil are sitting side by side, that little amount pops out somehow, yes? The third one is called psychopathy. Psychopathy, it basically means you don't feel empathy for anybody. People can hurt, people can die, people are in pain, you don't care. You feel nothing for anybody, all right? You only care about your own feelings, and nothing that happens to anyone has an impact or an effect on you at all. So this recent study, you know what it's described? It described that people with these traits, they use the victim tag. They make themselves victims to take advantage of others. You know how? By cheating in gambling games. They'll go to casinos, they'll pretend to be victims. By pretending to be victim, the person will think that they're highly moral, their morality is higher. They will sneak in and they will cheat because of it. Is everyone understanding this slippery slope? The mixing of evil and what we think is morality and getting mashed together. How difficult it is to define. Easy on the ends. When they clash together and they intersect inside of us, we stand in a very sort of precarious position. I'll give you an example. When Imam Ali alayhi salatu was salam, Amir al-Mu'mineen, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad, when he was given the bay'ah for khilafah, even though he did not want it, they pushed him to become khalifa. When he became khalifa, they say Al-Walid came to him. Al-Walid is of the Umayyads, of the Umayyads. Now listen to the story, how it's described. He comes, he says, "Oh Ali, we are ready to give you bay'ah. But I want to state a few things in the beginning. You killed Marwan's father in Badr. You killed my uncle. You killed my brother." Notice what they're playing, what he's playing. He's playing the victim. It's history. He comes, he says, "Ali, you killed my brother, you killed this person's uncle from Umayyad family, from Marwan's family, from the tribe of this. You've killed all of these people, but we are ready to give you bay'ah if you do a few things for us." Ali says, "What? Tell me." Walid, he says, "We would like that whatever wealth we have accumulated during the period of these last 3 khalifas, you don't touch it. Don't take it away from us. Number 2, the positions we have acquired, governorships, whatever they have been given, don't take those away from us. Let us stay in our governorships. Don't touch those from us. Make sure that whatever it is that you've been given to us is persistent and remains, and we will give you bay'ah." Imam Ali alayhi salam, he salawat ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. He hears the name Ali, he has to, that's it, Hamas inside of him, alhamdulillah. So Amir al-Mu'mineen answers. He says, "Okay, you come to me, first thing you say that I killed your fathers, your uncles, your brothers at Badr, at Uhud, at this and that." And indeed, Ali was a champion. His sword was the sword of Islam. He is the lion of Rasulullah. There is no question. There's no question. There is no one like Ali. No one like Ali. You claim that whatever wealth and possession you have been given or acquired in this moment, that I should not touch it. You should keep it. Number 3, that the positions that you have been given, that you have been afforded, that those also should remain the way they are. Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says, "You claim that your fathers were killed, that your brothers were killed, your uncles were killed, your sons were killed." He says, "It is not I who killed them, it is the haqq that killed them. It is the truth that killed them." Aywa aliyah. He says, number 2, that money that you have, he says, it is not my place to determine what is the haqq of Allah and what Allah has determined to be proper. Law is Allah's to give, Allah's to decide. He is the one who makes the law. It is not up to me to decide what you keep and don't keep. He says, as far as your positions are concerned, whatever governorship you have been given, whatever lots you have been given, etc., he says, we will judge based on the Muslim people. They will see who has appointed you. Are you really there because the people have confidence in your behavior? Amir al-Mu'mineen knew. You want a governor who is loved by the people, not because he's put there by nepotism, because the family put him there. Now, he continues. He says, I know the Quraysh keeps running away from me. And they wish me ill, but I will treat them fairly. I will judge based on Allah's kitab and the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. And then he says something powerful. This statement, when I read it in the book, I think I read it maybe 10, 15 times just on first sitting, just to see that I understood it properly. He says, فَمَنْ ضَاقَ عَلَيْهِ الْحَقِّ فَالْبَاطِلُ عَلَيْهِ أَضْيَقُ. I'll explain it. He says that for whoever upholding the truth is difficult, rejecting batil is even more difficult. Does that make sense? We think it's just about supporting the truth. That automatically when you support the truth, you have automatically denied the batil. No, Imam Ali, what is he saying? He says just by virtue of fact that you cannot support the truth, meaning when batil comes in front of your face, it'll be even harder for you to deny it. Because they sit like this. No? They sit like this. Haqq and batil sit like this. They don't sit on opposite spectrums all the time. They are so close to each other that Amir al-Mu'mineen is saying, don't think they're disconnected from each other. If you deny the truth, know for sure that when batil comes in front of you, it will be even harder for you to deny it, to stop it. It will be so hard for you. What did these people live like? They wanted to deny the truth. Why? Because it didn't suit them. So then when batil came, what happened? They capitulated. They allowed it to happen. It was too difficult for them to stop what is evil, what is not permissible. And that's why you see how insan's nature is at the boundary between good and evil. And how it is so challenging. That's why, even when the topic tonight is, if you will reform a system, how do you do it? And the conversations and the majalis and the speeches about how Imam Ali, the books that have been written about how Imam Ali reformed and was working to correct the mistakes that had been formed, that had happened over the decades before, there are so many. And I'm not here to sit and regurgitate all that information. You know it. You know what Imam Ali did and how he did it. But what I'm asking you to do is pay attention to this one aspect of Imam Ali. This one thing that he's pointing to, that the interface between good and evil is closer than you think. Good and evil don't always sit here and here. They're oftentimes right here, next to each other. That's why separating them and seeing them separately is not easy. You have to have a clear eye. And that's why the Quran says, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu in tattaqullah yaj'al lakum furqana. O you who believe, if you are pious, Allah will give you furqan. The name Faruq, some say it is reported, where does the name Faruq come from? And whose name was Faruq? Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Furqan means the difference between dark and light. You know it. The difference between haqq and batil. You know it. It's in front of your face. In the same sense, when Ali as-Sajjad alayhi salatu was-salam is standing in the court of Yazid, what does he say? He says, Inna minna al-Faruq. When he describes, when he says, Man arafani faqad arafani, wa man lam ya'rafni anba'tahu bi nasbi wa hasbi. Whoever knows me, they know me. Whoever doesn't know me, I will tell you. Ana ibn Makkah wa Mina, ana ibn Zamzam wa Safa. On and on he goes, on and on he goes. And then what does he say? Ana ibn Asadullah wa Asadu Rasulih wa ana ibn al-Faruq. He uses the name Faruq. Who is he talking about? His grandfather Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib. Why Faruq? Because they knew dark from light, good from evil. They can differentiate these things. So when Amir al-Mu'mineen comes, what is his job? His job, and you see in his letters that he writes to all his governors, he gives some points on what makes a good judge or a good governor, someone who has to tell light from dark, has to adjudicate laws in society, telling what is proper and what is not proper, halal from haram, etc., these sorts of things. He says one of the qualities of these judges is that they always return to the truth if they move away from it. We are human. We will drift. We will drift. He says a good judge, a pious judge, will always return back to the truth, will always find his way back to the truth. He says, number two, a good judge will never choose to take superficial information if deeper information is available. Sometimes the way to differentiate good from evil that is right next to each other is to know more, is to have deeper information, is to have deeper knowledge. Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam, he says, number three, if the facts are not clear, the person will not move quickly. They will hold back and hesitate a little bit until the facts become clear. And number four, they will keep collecting facts until the entire affair has been clarified. Think about how we act. How do we act? Do we act with this sort of discernment? We don't. And in many situations, we falter. We falter. We don't pay attention. I'll give you one example. Samahat Sayyid al-Sistani, may Allah preserve him, he will say that if you have the halal meat in a store and it has a sticker on it that says halal, and that is the only indicator on there, you cannot take that sticker to have any value of hilliya, of dhabiha, okay? You cannot take that as a sign that this is dhabiha halal. What will we do? We will walk in and we will, what sort of grocery stores do you guys have here? Food Lion, Publix? No, Publix is deep south. What is it? Jewel. Man, if that doesn't get you in a grocery store, I don't know what will. Yes. So you go into the grocery store, you see the meat, it says halal on it. You say, halal, I take it. You didn't dig deeper, no? And what did you do? You didn't pay attention. You didn't do what you were supposed to do. You're sitting on the edge of doing what is right and, God forbid, doing what is wrong. It can happen so easily. It's because we don't realize how close they are to each other. And yes, making a slight mistake where you have eaten a haram food, not intentionally, whatever, I'm not saying that that is like killing someone. No, don't take it like that. It's not some big evil. Granted. But I'm describing to you how quickly you can slip. So now Amir al-Mu'mineen, he is trying to correct. And one of the things he corrected were the judges. He said the judges have to be corrected. One judge was a man named Shuraih al-Kindi. He was in Kufa. Shuraih al-Kindi, it's described, he was appointed by the second Khalifa. And the reports state that it is because his judgments were favorable. Let me leave it at that. So he was sent to be a judge in Kufa. And there was some objection in Medina to him being appointed. Nonetheless, he was appointed. When the third Khalifa came, he reinforced this appointment and affirmed it. He said, no, this guy will stay. When Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wassalam is appointed as the Khalifa and given the bay'ah, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, he comes and he receives news that Shuraih has bought a home, a fairly big home, for a fairly cheap price, fairly low price. He sends him a letter and he says, Shuraih, you have bought a home that is opulent and big and fancy, and you've paid a very low sum for it. And by doing so, you have set a very dangerous standard. Why? Because it will be seen that men of power can abuse that power and get fancy things for cheaper prices just because of their position. Ya Ali. My dear brothers and sisters, how often times do we abuse a system like this? We use our position to get a cheaper price, not realizing the effect it has on others around us. Yet look at Ali ibn Abi Talib. He's pointing, he's telling his judge. He says, what you don't realize, Shuraih, is what is coming after you. You have gone and purchased this house. If you had asked me for help, I would have helped you write a contract by which you can buy with honor and make it so that this house, and I am paraphrasing, doesn't come around your neck. Because he says there is something chasing after you, and this thing that is chasing after you will not leave you until it takes you. And when it takes you, you will leave the house behind. He says the sale that has been made between you and the person who sold you the house is between two men who are already dead. And when he says you're already dead, it means you're not taking the house with you. You've compromised everything that is proper, and you have bought this house, and now you have to face the consequences. Then he says something very important. He says the four corners of this house that you have bought, do you know what they represent? He says, يَنْتَهِ الْحَدُّ الْأَوَّلِ إِلَى دَوَاعِ الْآفَاتِ. He says the first side of the house, it will take you to only place where you will have nothing but pestilence and pain and sickness. Maybe not sickness in your body, but in your soul, in your mind. وَيَنْتَهِ الْحَدُّ الثَّانِي إِلَى دَوَاعِ الْمُصِيبَاتِ. The second wall, it will take you to nothing but trials and tribulations, musibah. وَيَنْتَهِ الْحَدُّ الثَّالِثِ إِلَى الْهَوَى الْمُرْدِي. The third wall, it will take you towards your whims and your desires that will make you slide. And he says, وَيَنْتَهِ الْحَدُّ الرَّابِعِ إِلَى الشَّيْطَانَ الْمُغْوِي. The fourth wall, shaitan is sitting there waiting for you. Shaitan is waiting for you. You're surrounded by all of these inside. Pestilence and disease on one, musibah on the other, your desires pulling you on the third, and shaitan clapping his hands at you on the fourth. Inside your house. What is closer to a human being than their house? Nothing. Your house is your life, no? Obviously, other than your children, your family, etc. It is where you feel most comfortable. Yet Amir al-Mu'mineen has brought this message straight into your home and said, be aware that you are standing on the corner of what is a very difficult position. And that's why awareness of that, and that's how he began to make people aware. It is reported in some riwayat that Shuraih was removed by Imam Ali, and that later on he was reappointed afterwards. Now, imagine the sort of the difficulty of Imam Ali's position, that in every circumstance he's trying to bring people's attention to this and alerting people. And he has a handful of followers, people like Malik al-Ashtar, Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr, people like Maytham al-Tammar, Salman, other individuals who are there close to him, but not enough that he can make a wholesale change. It is too difficult. And believe me, everyone knows what is Ali. And you want an example of what is standing opposite to him? It is the very symbol of someone who stands at the edge of what is perceived to be goodness and all evil. When Muawiyah was dying, he wrote a letter to his son. He said, my son, I have raised you as a father would. He was maybe a little sentimental in his old age. He knew he was dying. Muawiyah was a lot of things. He was not a fool. He was not a fool. He was evil to his core, but he was not a fool. He wrote a letter to his son. He says, my son, I have raised you. I have prepared things. He goes, it's a long letter. He gives all some details about their ancestors. And he, at the end of this letter, he says, إِنِّي كَفَيْتُكَ الرَّحْلِ وَالتَّرَحُّلِ. He says, I have taken care of your journey in this matter. إِنِّي كَفَيْتُكَ الرَّحْلِ وَالتَّرَحُّلِ وَسَهَّلْتُ لَكَ السُّبُلِ. I have made the road easy for you. The journey, the accommodations, everything I've prepared it for you. You don't have to do anything. You have to lift a finger. Not only that, he says, وَأَوْطَأْتُ الْبِلَادُ لَكَ يَا بُنَيْ. I have crushed the nations for you, my son. He says, يَا بُنَيْ لَقَدْ كَانَ لِي فِي الْخِلَافَةِ لَقَدْ كُنْتُ فِي الْخِلَافَةِ جَائِعًا شَبْعَانًا. لَقَدْ كُنْتُ يَا بُنَيْ فِي الْخِلَافَةِ جَائِعًا شَبْعَانًا. This statement. He says, my son, about the Khilafah, I was so hungry for it. And he said, finally, I filled my belly with it. Huh? If you see the same letter, you know what he writes in it? He says, O Yazid, be a man of big heart. Be courteous to people. Yes, yes. It's not surprising. Does it surprise you that he is this way? Anyone wants, I will send you the letter. I don't have the personal letter. It's available in a book. He says all of these things that show his tyranny, show his evil, and at the same time he says, be gentle to the people. Have a big heart. Be kind. Don't deal harshly. Be broad-hearted, etc., etc. Accommodate, accommodate, accommodate. And then he comes and he says something. He says, be aware of 4 people. He says, be aware of Abdurrahman ibn Abi Bakr. Abdurrahman ibn Abi Bakr, you have to note him, but the good thing about him is that he only cares about trivialities. The letter says he cares about women, and he will follow the crowd. Wherever his companions go, he will do what they do. He doesn't have an opinion of his own. The second person, Abdullah ibn Umar. He says, watch out for him. This man, all he cares about is ibadah. So if you engage him in worship and prayer, will take him. He will not care about anything else. The third man, he says, worry about Abdullah ibn Zubayr. He says, this man is a snake. Be aware. You cannot trust one word that comes out of his mouth. One time he will say one thing, next time he will do another. He will twist the truth for his own purpose. We know Abdullah ibn Zubayr what he was. We knew what Zubayr was. Then he says something. He says, وَانْتَبِهْ إِلَى شَبِيهِ أَبِيهِ الْحُسَيْنِ ibn Ali. Look at how he describes Imam Hussein. He says, the fourth person I want you to pay attention to is the one who resembles his father, Al-Husayn ibn Ali. He said, look who resembles his father, Ali ibn Abi Talib, that is Hussein. Be aware, because this Hussein, he's like his father. These people are people of knowledge. Muawiyah knew it. These people he was not a fool. He knew where the knowledge was. He knew who were the rightful heirs of the deen. He was not a fool. He knew. That's why, my dears, we don't say Hadrat Muawiyah. Hadrat Muawiyah doesn't come out of our mouths. This man represented deviousness. He was the snake that pretended to be all good and harbored evil inside of him. There's no question of it. Yet if you don't look carefully enough, will you see it? No, you will see the good. That be generous, my son, with them. Be good to them. Meanwhile, underneath what? Plot against the grandson of Rasulullah. Why? Because he was like my enemy, Ali ibn Abi Talib. And that's why when they asked on the day of Karbala, why are you killing the family of Rasulullah? The answer was, بُغْضًا لِأَبِيكَ يَا Hussein. Hatred for your father, Ali ibn Abi Talib. That is the power of justice. That is the power of him who says, no, I will never compromise even a speck of anything for the truth. Ever. The truth has to dominate. And this, you see, what is Ali? That is the action of Hussein. And that's why when you stand there, even I mentioned to you a few nights ago, those who were on the edge. Some who came, some who didn't. Was it not like that? The men who were in Karbala on either side, some of them, they saw the truth, they fell to the good. Some of them were on the edge, they knew what is the truth. Umar ibn Sa'ad himself, he knew. He didn't know. He saw good, he saw evil. He saw Jannah, he saw Nar. Did he not? Right next to each other? Right next to each other. Which did he pick? Picked Nar. He picked Hayat al-Dunya. He picked the governorship of Rai. Karbala is this. Karbala is all evil against all good, but it shows that line that intersects the two, that clashes the two, and reflects to us inside of ourselves what we have to be aware of. And no more so than what you see in the actions of those with Imam Hussein, who came to the side of Imam Hussein, didn't leave Imam Hussein. They say in the Arbab al-Maqatil that when the companions had all been killed, all of them. Now imagine in the course of this battle that each is falling. And my master al-Hussein, some asked, why did he wait till the end? If he's the general, he's the leader, he should go out first. No, my dears, he knew what was coming. And so every time the call came, Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah, Maulana al-Hussein races out to the battlefield, carries the body on his chest and brings the body back. In some instances, when the companion is alive and lying there on the ground, he consoles them. He says to them, Ya sahab al-kiram, abshir bil-jannah. My companions, my great honorable companions, take the good news, Jannah is waiting for you. Imagine you are dying and Abi Abdullah al-Hussein is holding your hand. But then look at it from the perspective of Imam Hussein. What was his broken heart? To hold the hand of Habib ibn Madahir, to hold the hand of Muslim ibn Hawsaja, to hold the hand of Zuhair ibn al-Qayn, to hold the hand of John Mawla Aba Dhar, to hold the hand of all of the Ibn Wahab, all of them, one by one, holding on to their hands. Until finally, the young people start to go. Darawi, he describes that one young boy comes out. He is very small. He says, Ya amma ata'dhan li fil qital. Do you give me permission to go fight? Imam Hussein, how can he let them go? But eventually he puts the armor on them, fastens them, lifts them to the horse and sends. Darawi, he says, this young boy goes out to the battlefield. He's very small. He is fighting. As he's fighting, he stops in the middle of the battlefield. He gets tired. It's hot. He's sweating. As he puts his hand up to wipe the sweat, an arrow comes, goes through his hand and lodges in his mouth. Rawi describes this. His hand is fixed like this, stuck. The arrow is in. Now in those days, the edge of the arrow was big and wide. So it's not like you can pull it out. It's stuck in his mouth. He is stopped in the battlefield. He's trying to pull it. This is Abdullah ibn Muslim. He's another son of Muslim ibn Aqil. His mother was Ruqayya bint Ali ibn Abi Talib. His mother was the daughter of Ali ibn Abi Talib. He's the grandson of Ali ibn Abi Talib. He is standing in the middle of the battlefield trying to pull it out. The la'een, he says to his companion, this young boy is busy trying to remove the arrow. I am going to attack him. فَرَفَعَ سَيْفَهُ وَاحْتَزَّ رَأْسَهُ. He struck him on the head, vanquishing the young boy. How many boys like this went in Karbala? Until finally, you know, one mother is sitting in her tent. And it is the mothers who had raised these lions, no? This one mother, she's sitting. She calls her two boys. She says to them, my sons, you have come as representatives of your father. Your father, Abdullah ibn Ja'far al-Tayyar, could not come. So he sent you as his representatives. You must go and fight with valor in defense of your uncle al-Hussein. Go. They said, my mother, we will fight and we will give everything we have. She says, wait. She says, never turn your back and run away from the battlefield. Do not do anything that will bring shame upon your father or me. They say, why, ya Ummah? She says, because when your uncle Hussein is killed, and the chains are tied on our hands, and the ropes are tied around our necks, at least I will be able to think about your bravery in the battlefield. Hawnan Muhammad ibn Abdullah,
They go out. They take permission from Al-Hussein. The Rawi, he describes that they come to the battlefield and they read the rajs. They read the elegies and the poetry of battle. That, don't you know? We are the sons of Abdullah ibn Ja'far al-Tayyar. Our grandfather is the one flying with wings in heaven. Don't you know what family of champions we come from? The ones who have championed Islam in the days of Rasulullah, fighting. Suddenly, they say, as the fighting is taking place, the sound of a hound comes. That, Sayyidi ya Aba Abdullah, ya Amma, assalamu alayk, adrikni ya Amma, adrikni, come to my help, I am falling, Aun is falling. Imam Hussein Darawi says, ركب على فرسه وهاجم على العدو كالليث الغاضب. He got on his horse, he began to charge the enemy like an angry lion. When they saw Imam Hussein coming towards them, they began to disperse in every direction. Even though Imam Hussein heard the voice of Aun, he saw the body of Muhammad lying on the ground. He was looking for Aun, but there is his brother Muhammad. Imam Hussein, he gets down from the horse, falls on the body of Muhammad, wa musibata, wa thakala, wa ahlu bayta. Imam Hussein wipes the blood. Muhammad, he looks at his uncle. He says, my uncle, have I done valiantly and have I fought courageously? Imam Hussein, he says, my son, very soon you will see your grandfather Ja'far al-Tayyar. Muhammad ibn Abdullah, he says, Ya Amma, oh my uncle, oh Hussein, I am dying. There is nothing you can do to save me. I am finished. My life is going. I heard the voice of my brother Aun not far from here. Go to him and maybe you can save his life. Imam Hussein gets up from the ground, begins to charge in the direction where he heard the voice of Aun, calling, saying, Aun, call to me. Where are you, O Aun? Seeing the body on the ground of Karbala, Imam Hussein falls on the body, but the ruh has already left the body. Aun has gone. My dear brothers and sisters, who is going to help Maulana Hussein lift these bodies and bring them? Where is Abul Fadl al-Abbas? Where is Abbas to help al-Hussein? How is he going to bring these bodies back to the tent of Zainab? وسيعلم الذين ظلموا على محمد أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون باسمك العظيم الأعظم الأعز الأجل الأكرم يا الله اللهم إنا نسألك وندعوك ونقسم عليك بحق الزهراء وأبيها وبعلها وبنيها والسر المستودع فيها لعن الله ظالميها اللهم شافي كل مريض اللهم رد كل غريب اللهم فك كل أسير اللهم غير سوء حالنا بحسن حالك يا كريم اللهم وفقنا لمراضيك وجنبنا معاصيك وثبت أقدامنا على صراطك المستقيم وخذ بأيدينا إليك يا أرحم الراحمين وفرج عنا يا الله فرجا عاجلا قريبا كلمح البصر وهو أقرب من ذلك وافرغ علينا صبرا وتوفنا مسلمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وآله الطاهرين يا حسين لبيك يا حسين لبيك يا حسين لبيك يا حسين
جزاك الله. يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين
اے آن محمد 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 شبیر کا تم صدقہ ہو اب خیمے میں بیٹا تم لوٹ کر نہ آنا اے آن محمد اے آن محمد اے آن محمد اے آن محمد شبیر کا تم صدقہ ہو اب خیمے میں بیٹا تم لوٹ کر نہ آنا اے آن محمد 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 ہے ماں کو یقین تم ماں کی بات رکھو گے یہ یاد رہے خیموں میں پیاسے بچے دریا پہ اگر جانا ہو سروز کے پیاسوں تم پیاس نہ بجھانا اے آن محمد اے آن محمد اے آن محمد اے آن محمد ہر حال میں تم پر لازم ہے شکر خدا کا اے شہزادوں ہے صبر تمہارا ورثہ فرزند ہو تم زینب کے شکوہ نہیں کرنا جب زخم کوئی کھانا اے آن محمد 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 جب سانس تمہاری بچوں کھڑنے والی اس وقت سرانے آئیں گی مادر میری دل کی یہ میرے خواہش ہے اس دم میری ماں سے زخموں کو تم چھپانا اے آن محمد اے آن محمد اے آن محمد اے آن محمد جب لاش اٹھا کر
खैमे में लाए सरवर। ज़ैनब ये बोली अशकों को अपने छुपा कर, मैं भी न तुम्हें रोऊंगी और मेरे लिए भी आंसू ना तुम बहाना। है आनो मोहम्मद, 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 है आनो मोहम्मद। ताज़ीम की खातिर क्यों उठते नहीं अब बेटा, देखो तो सराने आए हैं मेरे भैया। जागो मेरे शहजादों, क्या भूल गए हो कदमों पे सर झुकाना। है आनो मोहम्मद, है आनो मोहम्मद, है आनो मोहम्मद, है आनो मोहम्मद। या हुसैन, 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 हुसैन।
बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। اللهم صل على محمد عبدك ورسولك وحبيبك وصفيك ونبيك وخيرتك من خلقك وحافظ سرك ومبلغ رسالاتك، وعلى علي أمير المؤمنين ووصي رسول رب العالمين، وعلى الصديقة الطاهرة فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين، وعلى سبطي الرحمة وإمامي الهدى الحسن بن علي المجتبى والحسين الشهيد بكربلاء. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله، وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتك. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. اللهم وصل على أئمة المسلمين علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي والخلف الهادي المهدي الإمام القائم صاحب العصر والزمان. الأمان 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 من زوال الإيمان وفتن الزمان. عجل الله تعالى فرجه وسهل الله مخرجه، وجعلنا من أنصاره وأعوانه والذابين عنه والمسارعين إليه في قضاء حوائجه والمستشهدين بين يديه جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. صلى الله